Safety is the #1 focus of all airlines. As a captain, you have no one to answer to in the cockpit, except your first officer, of course. So this means that the safe operation of the aircraft rests solely in your hands. I'm sure you have noticed so far throughout this DVD that safety is #1. Through the systems, you have seen the great amount of redundancy, and through the procedures, you have seen the careful checks and guidelines that must be done every time. When it comes to landing, however, there is one great philosophy I'd like you to keep in mind every time you approach the runway. That is this: give the same amount of priority to a go-around as you would a successful landing. What does this mean? Well, this means you are never going to plan on landing. It sounds a little goofy, but it's the truth. Rather, every time you are approaching, your plan will be to take the safest course of action. This should be your mindset for all phases of flight, but there is no greater example of safety than on landing. Let's learn the go-around. A go-around is an aggressive yet completely necessary maneuver that takes us up and out as soon as possible. We are currently on final on 3-4 left in Denver. It's typical January weather with some snow flurries. The landing environment is far from routine, and we've got to be on top of our game at all times. In our situation, this is particularly important because we have another aircraft on final in front of us. So, we're #2 in line for landing. Of course, you know what's coming. This will not be a landing. We will be performing a go-around. So, before we get there, let's discuss how this is done. The go-around is a 5-step process. However, the trick here is that all 5 steps occur in about a 10 to 15 second time frame, if that. You need to memorize these steps and be on alert for every landing from here on out. First step, go-around. This one is simple. It means that by pressing the go-around switch, the aircraft will initiate full power until it can begin a climb. Now, I actually have my takeoff go-around switch mapped to work on one of my throttle quadrant buttons, but you can also activate it by pressing this screw. Step 2, flaps 20. As soon as you monitor the thrust surging forward on the ICAS, as if you didn't already see it out the window or feel it in the seat of your pants, you will go to flaps 20. This means 2 notches up. Step 3, rotate. The autopilot should do this for you. However, if it does not, do it yourself to about 15 degrees nose up pitch or follow the flight director. Step 4, when you monitor a positive climb on the PFD, pull the gear up to get rid of that extra drag. Step 5, missed approach altitude. If you haven't already, set your missed approach altitude in the MCP altitude window. That's it. Have you memorized it? I hope so, cause here we go. Now let's do the go-around. As we see an aircraft in front of us, still on the runway, one of 2 things could happen. The tower could call us and tell us to go around, or we could do it ourselves. Whether they call us or not really doesn't matter. As the captain, you always have the privilege to go around if things just aren't right. Go around. When this is called, press the toga switch. The aircraft will press you back in your seat and begin an aggressive rotation and climb. In the meantime, get to flaps 20 and pull up the landing gear as soon as you notice that we have a positive rate. After you have the most critical parts down, do the last step by placing the missed approach altitude in the MCP altitude window if it isn't already there. Call the tower now if you haven't already notified them, and let them know what you are doing or acknowledge their instructions. It's more important to get the critical parts out of the way first before being concerned about what they think. Besides, the golden rule of flying is fly the airplane first. Now the aircraft will climb like there is no tomorrow, and it is very noticeable. It's truly amazing how responsive it can be. A lightweight 747 with its powerful 4 engines packs a major punch. On the way up to your missed approach altitude, and most likely a hold, we are going to stay at this configuration as it is standard operating procedure here at AOA. I know this is going to seem like a slow climb as far as airspeed, but the truth is we are climbing at an incredible rate if you compare it to distance. It's also worth noting that it's possible to skip this part altogether. What I mean by that is if you contact the tower and let them know what's going on right away, there is a better chance you can do a visual approach or circling vectored approach. That'll save everyone a lot of time and maybe some passengers from missing their connecting flights. As we get to the missed approach altitude, we do the ABC. This means at bug altitude, you should bug up and clean up. Basically, this means that you'll level off and start bringing in the flaps as the aircraft accelerates. It's pretty simple, as I know you've done this before. It's the same procedure you take after the initial climb during a takeoff. That's it. Remember, give the same priority to a go-around as you would a successful landing.